Video starts with page 329 and goes down to up to 336. The 3 C's of confidence. Self-confidence is the first requisite to great undertakings. Samuel Johnson. Once we found that confidence was so critical to high performance, I sought out 30 people with the highest overall HPI scores out of over 20,000 surveyed, who also strongly agreed with the statement, "I am confident. I can achieve my goals despite challenges or resistance." I had already studied much of the academic literature on confidence, and we had loads of data from the surveys, so I wanted to hear how the high top performers actually talked about it. I wondered whether they felt somehow superhuman, as if they had an inborn and unstoppable kind of confidence that mere mortals lack. As you can probably guess, the answer was no. High performers do have more confidence than most people, but not by birthright, luck, or superhuman skill. What I found was that high performers simply thought about things that gave them more confidence than others more often, and did things that gave them more confidence than others, and avoided things that drained confidence more often than others did. They almost universally reported that their confidence came from purposeful thinking and action. No one in the interviews, not any other high performer I have ever trained or worked with, ever said, "I was just born confident enough to handle the enormous challenges and responsibilities I face in my life now." So what did high performers think, do, and avoid to develop such strong confidence? I can bucket my findings in 3 areas: competence, congruence, and connection, because there are such important topics for developing high performance. Confidence. I'll treat them as practices as we did in earlier chapters. Practice 1. Develop confidence. As is our confidence, so is our capacity. William Hazlitt. While most people think of confidence as a general belief in oneself, the kind of confidence that is most tied to performance improvement comes from belief in one's ability in a specific task. This means that the more knowledge, skill, ability, or talent, that is, competence, you have at a given task, the more likely you are to be confident and perform well. I've been teaching about this confidence-competence loop since 1997, and I'm continually surprised at how much it comes up in conversations with high performers. The idea here is the more confidence you get at any given task, the more confident you'll become in trying it more often, and the more you'll stretch yourself. That repetition and stretching leads to more learning, which gives you more confidence. More confidence then begets more confidence, and round it goes. You can see how this plays out. If you've ever gone to the gym, the first time you're there, you don't really know what to do with all the weights and machines. So you're uncertain and perhaps even awkward in your workout. But the more you go, the more you know. Soon, you're confident in your ability to use the weights and machines, and the more you know how to use them, the more you start pushing yourself. You weren't born confident in the gym. You got confident. Confidence is not a fixed personality trait. It's a muscle you build through exertion. In one way or another, all the top 30 performers spoke about the confidence loop. They credited their current level of confidence to their years of focus, learning, practice, and skill development. In fact, 23 of the 30 referenced these types of things first when discussing confidence, and not one mentioned hitting the lottery at birth with tons of confidence. They didn't talk about general self-esteem as in, "I like myself," or "I feel good about me." But they talked about how they had run the miles and earned the confidence to do well in life. They think, "I know what to do and how to add value here." To my surprise, high performers attributed their confidence to the sort of competence even before mentioning character traits. I thought they would speak first to traits that gave them self-trust, then to those that fostered skill. I was wrong, which is why I say that the loop never fails to turn out more ahas. In the chapter on productivity, I covered how to get super confident at any skill through practicing progressive mastery. So let me move on to another distinction in this area. High performers have confidence not only because of past skills acquired in a specific area, but equally from trust in their ability to gain future competence. That is, they reported that their confidence was not tied to one specific competency, but rather to a belief that they could adequately handle things in the future, even if they had no experience. Their confidence came from a belief in their power of learning in general. High performers are learners, and their belief that they can learn what is necessary to win in the future gives them as much confidence as their current skill set. Having learned so many things in the past, they trust they can do it again. In this way, it became clear that the internal voice of a high performer is saying, "I believe in my ability to figure things out." It's a bit circular, but no less true. The key competency that gives high performers confidence is the ability to quickly gain understanding or skill in a new situation. In other words, the competency that matters is the ability to become competent. That's why I knew that reminding Aurora of her superpowers would help her find a little more confidence before her speech. She had to figure out a lot of things in her life, and simply acknowledging that could give her a small boost of confidence to handle this situation too, even though she'd never done it before. This idea is particularly important in sports. Every day on the field or in the arena, you're going to meet someone who has more experience and perhaps more talent and success. You often feel as though you can't measure up, and often enough, that will be true. But just because you can't keep up doesn't mean you can't show up. Only by showing up consistently, even when you're greenest novice, will you ever get the experience and confidence. Besides a sometimes untethered trust in their ability to figure things out in the moment, high performers also gain more confidence by ruminating on past successes and learn more from them than others do. High performers ponder the lessons from their wins. They give credit to themselves, and they allow those wins to integrate into their psyche and give them greater strength. This is a vitally important distinction. Underperformers rarely reflect on their lessons learned, and if they do, they are too hard on themselves. And even when they win, they rarely integrate that win into their identity. They did well, yet don't feel any stronger because of it. They just don't let themselves feel the win. They didn't get what gamers would call a power-up. In conversations with them, it's obvious they don't recognize how much they've learned, how far they've come, what they're capable of doing now or in the future. They lowball themselves even when they're put in the miles, and so they lack confidence. That's why as you strive, it's important that you begin a practice of reflecting on your progress and your new learning. Don't wait until New Year's Eve to think about all the great things you did and learned this year. I recommend you spend at least 30 minutes every Sunday reflecting on the previous week. What did you learn? What did you handle well? What do you deserve to give yourself a pat on the back for? As simplistic as this may sound, it can have a profound effect in helping you gain more confidence. Performance prompts. 1. The competencies, knowledge, skills, abilities, or talents that I have worked hard to cultivate in my life include. 2. If I gave myself credit for learning all the things, I would start to feel more. 3. Something I've learned to do in the past few years that I have not yet given myself credit for is. 4. I feel that I can handle big challenge in my life right now because I'm good at learning how to. 5. A practice I begin doing every day to help me start feeling more confident is. Practice 2. Be congruent. Self-trust is the first secret of success. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Living in congruence with the best of who we are is one of the primary motivations of humankind. I wrote an entire chapter about the topic of this in my book, The Charge, and we'll use an expert part of the book here to begin the conversation. At the core of congruence are questions about how we are really living our life, not just imagining it. The drive for congruence forces yourself to ask, am I being honest with who I am? Am I trustworthy, true to myself and others? Do I practice what I think and preach? Do I follow through on what I know of myself? Do I make a stand when the world challenges who I become? These questions and our answers to them define us and largely determine our destiny. It's hard to be congruent. Naturally, different parts of us are engaged at different times. Our identity, personality states, and standards may vary from one context to the next. We might be a rock star at work, but a janitor at home. We may be fun, exciting, and playful with our best friend, but shy and reserved in bed. We can be aggressive in one situation, then fail to be assertive when it counts. Yeah, in the bed. You should be assertive in the bed, man. Okay. Variance in who we are in any given context is natural, and, despite what some would have you believe, healthy. Life would be terribly unhealthy, not to mention boring, if we were exactly the same all the time. To feel more congruent, though, we will have to be more conscious about who we are and what kind of life we want to live. We will have to be conscious in crafting and maintaining our identity. All this requires conscious choice and work. Maybe someone didn't light the candle of love for you when you were young, or you've always had the identity of someone who isn't or could not be loved. Now as an adult, you can consciously choose to light that candle for yourself. Perhaps you were never given the attention or respect you desired. Now is the time to give it to yourself. No one ever instilled in you the confidence that made you feel you could shape or shake the world with your power. Give that confidence to yourself. This is the path to constructing your own identity. From my interviews, it's clear that the last paragraph is how high performers have approached their lives. They didn't wait for others to define who they ought to be. At some point, often a major moment in their lives, they took control, defined who they want to be, and started living in accordance with that self-image. They shape their identity by conscious will and have aligned their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors to support their identity. The more days they live in congruence with who they have chosen to become, the more they feel a sense of confidence in life. I heard it over and over again in interviews. I decided to break free from my parents or my job or my old relationships and do what I really wanted to do. I finally chose to seek work that was more me. I started living with greater intention. It's also clear that high performers no longer feel as if they were faking it to make it. Though 6 of the 30 people I interviewed mentioned that the phrase is something they did earlier in their lives or careers, none agreed they were still faking it. Instead, high performers seem to wake up each day and have a clear intention of who they really want to be, and then they go out into the world and give the intention a real focused energy. A sense of authenticity, pride, self-trust, and confidence comes from those congruent actions. When I spoke with Aurora in the green room, I made sure to remind her she was a champion so that her thoughts and actions would realign toward the truth. Sometimes a simple challenge to how powerful we really are can give just the boost of confidence we need. If you can understand the power of congruence, then you can understand why the habit of seeking clarity is so important to confidence. You can be congruent with something you've never defined. No clarity, no congruence, no confidence. It's that simple. That's why I encourage you to revisit the chapter on clarity and remember to fill out the clarity chart each week. Enter each week with intention for who you want to be, then align your actions with that self-image and you'll gain greater confidence. Finally, I'll share something that a majority of high performers shared with me. Confidence comes from being truthful with yourself and others. You have to avoid the little lies that can easily tear out the fabric of your character. If you lie about the small things, you will cause a catastrophe when faced with the big things. Your heart and soul will want to know you've lived an honest life. If you break that trust, you risk feeling incongruent and ruining your performance. Stand in your truth and tell the truth, and you'll feel congruent. Performance prompts. 1. The person I really want to be in life could be described as. 2. 3 things I could do each week to live more congruently with that vision for myself include. 3 things I definitely stopped doing in my life so I can live in greater congruence with my ideal image of myself are.